All right, welcome to the Party Pals, GRC Mafia. Right out the gate, we're here to break down barriers, foster collaboration and community, working towards a more secure future for everybody. Definitely a learning and growing environment. Today, we're going to be talking about web browsers, and also I'm going to go through at least some of the configurations I use on Brave. If you guys would like to come up to join the conversation, ask a question or otherwise, I have no issues with dropping the stage link. Just ask me in chat and I'll go ahead and drop it. Throughout the presentation and throughout the stream altogether, and really pretty much everything we do, definitely want everybody to be encouraged to ask questions, share resources, and so forth. One of the best places to share your personal social media, whether that be LinkedIn or X or Blue Sky or whatever you've got, is inside of our live chat channel on Discord, and then it will relay that to the rest of the chats. Also, you can drop links for resources or otherwise as well, even if it doesn't pertain to exactly what we're talking about. Worst case scenario, we could circle back around to that as well. If don't share anything you don't want to be public. If you happen to do so, reach out to me on Discord or LinkedIn. You can also contact me at contact@studygrc.org. Now, let me go ahead and move this over. Also, don't forget about B-Dubs' website. B-Dubs is publishing an article every single Monday, but then also doing the ongoing CISSP study group, which was last night. The next one is Saturday at 3 p.m. Central Time. Those links are going in the chat as well. And then, of course, we have our website, which apparently Brews and Hacks was saying that there might be an issue with our contact form. But that's something else that I'm going to be working with later today. One of the big reasons why that would be a problem is because tomorrow, so Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time, is when we have our job readiness and group resume review. And so what we typically have is you'll go to our contact page and to submit your redacted resume. And so that's how that could be a problem as of right now. So I'm going to work on that later today and make sure that the contact form's good to go. Welcome to the Party Pal, Ben Tech, Brexy, Cam, Space Tacos, KP, GRC Mafia. Also, did I drop our... Yeah, I dropped our website link in there. Perfect. So I kind of feel like today is going to be pretty straightforward for the most part. If you guys have any questions, let me know. To be honest with you, we may go over the hour today. I have a pretty short presentation regarding web browsers, and then I'm actually going to pull up a fresh install of Brave browser and just walk through some of the different primary settings I set. So there's also some awesome resources in here as well. So web browsers, privacy, security, that has one part to do with it. One of the big highlights of the point today is the fact that web browsers are our doorway, our gateway to the internet as we know it. Of course, we do download applications and so forth as well, but it's kind of like a middleman in between. I don't know about you, but I personally, probably 90%, maybe even more of my time on the computer is actually through the web browser. So whether that's checking email, browsing the news, watching YouTube, Restream itself that we stream through, all of these different things that I utilize on a daily basis consistently is all through the web browser itself. Brexy is already coming in with Edge for the win. Oh gosh. Oh gosh, Brexy. So basically Brexy's stack is Notepad and Edge, right? However, and we'll talk more about Edge here shortly as well. And so that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk about that today is that web browsers are so widely used. We have some of the big ones here is Chrome, Firefox, and Edge. And every single one of them are exploited no matter what. And they're always going to be. That's one of the big things about it as well, is that you can only limit things so much. And no matter which browser you use, there's always going to be an issue. There's no way for 100%, and there never is. Let's see here. So, and I think one of the big things I wanted to mention here too is I'm going to pull up this other screen as well. There's a couple articles I wanted to share with you guys in regards to the threats. So one of the first ones here is a 2024 browser security report. And this gives you some really good statistics from 2024. 33% of all extensions within an organization pose high risk. That has a lot to do with what permissions they have access to. And this is another aspect. Like, this isn't just for the personal individual, but also in business, especially. 1% of installed extensions are known to be malicious. There's also another entire thing out there where actual attackers, threat actors, will purchase browser extensions and then make them malicious as well, where they already have a user base. So there's a lot of different issues that are out there regarding web browsers. Browser extensions are one of my biggest concerns. That's honestly what kind of keeps me up at night. Like, I don't install browsers. I mean, it's kind of like PBO, where he refuses to install apps on his mobile phone. PBO is probably still using a flip phone Nokia. Huh, PBO. Welcome to the party, pal 8-bit, and I see PBO popping in as well. And so let me drop this article for you. There's a lot of really good information on here. It gives you a little bit more insight into why browsers are, should even be a concern, a level of risk there, and so forth. There's some really awesome information, and they do have some of the numbers in here. Another really good one that I came across is this one from August of 24. So researchers find decades-old vulnerability in major web browsers. The main reason I wanted to share this is that this was an exploit, that a vulnerability that was found last year, and it was literally in the web browsers for over a decade. Nobody had seen it before, and this happens all the time too. Like, this isn't just a one and done kind of situation. Even if it's Chrome, Edge, whatever, they're constantly doing updates and improving the security aspect of it, the security and privacy aspect. Like I said, there's never 100%. And so this just is a really good example of the fact that, it's going to happen, and all you can do is just try to be preventive. That's the primary aspect here. Let's see. But this was an interesting one too, because this also allowed an attacker to do like remote code execution and so forth. Yeah, Cam saying Nokia brick phones for the win. I mean, to be honest with you, if they brought back like the OG Nokia flip phones or otherwise, like, honestly, I'd probably be on board. I'm already planning to transition back over to Graphene OS, and hopefully we do a video on that as well. But both of those articles are also in chat there. I'm going to go ahead and move back over to this presentation now. So how web browsers actually work. This is a very simplistic way. I believe Let's Defend has a really good example of a diagram of like, oh, when you type in a web browser or type in a website, this is the entire process. And there's a couple dozen different actions that occur when you do that. But in the simplest form here that I wanted to just showcase is that you put in the website, you get a response back, and your web browser goes through and renders that on your screen, paints it onto the screen. There's multiple different formats you could put that. But there's a lot of different moving pieces too. Like, these code bases are massive. I don't know. I don't recall the exact numbers offhand, but like, we're talking tens of millions of lines of code that's been bolted on. And that's also one reason why there's, I wouldn't say that there's a monopoly on web browsers, but it's not easy to go off and create your own. There are a couple projects out there where they are trying to recreate their own browser engines. But that's why you have things like Brave that run off of Chrome. Edge is even running off of the Chrome engine as well. So there's a lot of issues there. But also, I already talked a little bit about how, at least me, myself, I primarily use the browser for everything. Light Phone 3? I've never even heard of the Light Phone 3. I'm going to have to look that one up, Josh. Is BlackBerry still a thing? Or are you talking about like the OG Blackberries with the keyboards? I don't think I've seen a Blackberry in a very long time. Burp Suite browser for the win. Oh my god, B-dubs. I could believe it. B-dubs just run in Burp Suite browser. Why install a browser when you could just run it through Burp Suite? All right, let's see here. Palm Pilots? Oh my gosh. That sounds familiar. Welcome to the Party Pal, AB, as well. I hope Lightphone 3 no browser is a thing. So some of the different browser exploits, some of this, I don't want to go into too much detail with this. There is actually a really good course, though, that I'm going to mention, too. I try to throw out as many resources as I can along the way. Let's see here. So cross-site scripting is a huge, massive issue. And one of the big... Is it still in here? I like doing some of it on demand. I'm going to have to ask. So I don't know if... Yeah, so it looks like this course that I was going to share is paywalled, so I'm not even going to share it. But there was a cross-site scripting course that I thought was free at one point. But if you guys have anything out there, I know TryHackMe has some content on it as well. It steals your cookies, credentials, all kinds of different stuff. You can modify the websites, a lot of really bad stuff. There's also a level of phishing, social engineering. So that's also when we could go into like autofill, and then, you know, security weaknesses. One of my concerns with Brave browser, for an example, is it has a crypto wallet built into it. Like, that is not something I'm interested in whatsoever. The last thing I want to do is have a crypto wallet built into my browser. If I like, that's for, you know, hardware based wallets or otherwise, in my opinion. I don't even like the web-based services that are out there for crypto wallets. Man-in-the-middle attacks, malware targeting. One of the interesting things, I don't have the article handy, but also it does mention Medusa that for stealing, for actually attacking vaults and sessions. So that is actually a big growing concern, is different malware out there that is targeting password managers that are browser extensions, and then also the browser saved passwords as well. So definitely something to keep in mind. Crypto credits, oh god. Yeah, exactly, Age. Yeah, just curl everything. Just go from the web browser. There are some pretty neat terminal-based browsers that I played with a few years ago too. It's actually kind of neat. But yeah. All right. So I think we pretty much have a good idea on the fact that, hey, we use the browsers a lot. There's a lot of vulnerabilities with it and a lot of things that could go wrong. So common browser security and privacy settings. Really, I would like to encourage everybody to go through your browser, whether it's Edge, Firefox, God forbid Opera, or otherwise. Just review it, monitoring it. There's all kinds of updates all the time. One of the things I've noticed before is after an update, some of the settings will even, get changed. And that's actually like a pet peeve of mine. Like when I update my browser, I don't want my settings to be modified. There's the privacy and the security aspect. I personally go through Brave, and like I have a screenshot here on the right-hand side of just some of the settings, just to give you an example. But then also the password security. I personally do not recommend the browser-based password storage. So I think that's better than nothing at all. But there is just so many things that could go wrong. And I don't even like autofill. So, do with that with which you will. We talked about password managers last week, and I highly recommend going through and utilizing a dedicated password manager. They're designed to handle that type of information. And it seems like with how popular I think I had the number in here originally, but an alarming amount of people do use the Google Chrome password manager inside of the Chrome browser, and so that makes it a large target as well. Brexy mentioned thinking people used to really like Oprah. Honestly, I used it, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago for a little while. I thought that it was really neat in the customization options, but I ended up, like, it got kind of glitchy and started having some problems, and yeah, I ended up moving away from it. Welcome to the party, pal, Rhonda. Yeah, and absolutely no issues. Whenever you guys can hop in and so forth. Definitely our Thursday 6 p.m. meetings are our primaries. But I mean, still, like, vacations, don't feel bad about taking vacation and so forth. It's awesome that you're getting out and about and so forth as well. Let's see here. Now, these are a couple different resources I wanted to mention. So privacy tests, and I'm going to pull this up. So privacytest.org, I'm dropping this in chat right now. I'm going to pull it up on screen. And then there's also this other option as well that does like a comparison on the browser extensions. So one of the big reasons I wanted to mention this is because this is what I base my information off of. So privacytest.org goes through, and this was last updated February 25th. And they go through and they take the default, so fresh install of all of these browsers with no modification to settings, and then they test it for various different things. This is particularly focused towards privacy, but there's a lot of security related stuff in here as well. They also have this available for other platforms, so like desktop browsers, the private mode or incognito, iOS, Android, nightly builds, for beta releases and so forth. And they update this every so often. I think it might be once a quarter or something along those lines. Now, even to, like, I don't know what more than half of this even means. But going through on here, they do have an option here. So if you click on each one, you could spend the time to go through this. This is pretty extensive. And it will explain to you a little bit about what each section does. And green is good, X is bad, that it doesn't do anything with it. Now, just because it doesn't have all of it, like you could look at Edge right here. Because also we're looking at a compromise of convenience as well. So for an example, my secondary browser is Mulvad. So Mulvad browser is my secondary. The reason I don't use it as a primary is because it's such an inconvenience. So it deletes everything on exit. A lot of things are disabled by default. Joining a video meeting on Google Meet or something like that is practically impossible. And so there is that level of that barrier of convenience as well. And so that's where I found a middle ground with Brave, at least, by just looking through this and comparing, like, oh, okay, I'm primarily looking at Brave, LibreWolf, or Mulvad. Let's try these out, compare them, what works for me. And like I said, here in just a moment, I'm actually going to pull over my laptop here, share the screen on that, and go through some of the settings, because one of my issues with Brave is that it's a horrible interface off the bat, which I think is one of the biggest barriers. But regardless, this is a really awesome resource in my opinion. Definitely something to check out. And then also another good one is so then there's also this resource as well, which does a comparison between, I think I got both of these in chat. Awesome. Usually my phone goes into do not disturb automatically, but not today. All right, so the benefit I see with this one is this is also another really great reference. Let me zoom in a little bit here. So last updated April 4th of 2025. And again, there's a lot of information here, but you can certainly spend your time and hover over some of these different items, and it provides you some additional insights as well. This is not so much focused on the privacy and security side of it, but more of just a comparison, like usage, market share. So you could see like Edge it might be a little bit hard to see. Let me see if I can make this bigger. So this is the diagram, the actual graph for Edge. And so you could see Internet Explorer had like a peak in 2004, and then it's just been on a downhill climb, and then they converted over to Edge right around 2020. And then that's been kind of steadily increasing a little bit there. To be honest with you, that is very surprising to me. I didn't think Edge was that low in the market share. Makes me question this this graph in particular. Let's see. And so that's related to data until 23. So that's another important thing to mention, is it does state the sources of information there for this as well. So 5.1% Edge, 11% Edge users on mobile devices. And so this gives you more information on system compatibility, some of the default settings. There was one thing in here in particular that caught my eye the other day. Maybe it won't pop out to me today, of course. But I was kind of surprised that there was only 2 different ones that had it, because I think it was Brave and Firefox that had a feature on here, and none of the other ones had it for some reason. And then also, like, another important mention here too is like bookmark sync is an option, but maybe it had to do with the accounts, because like for an example, you have pretty limited capability instead of Edge and Chrome without an account, whereas with Brave you don't really have an account. Yeah, it's not jumping out to me, but definitely another really good resource here. And so those are some of what I use as comparison. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull this back up here. And I've been dropping all of that in chat as well. So let me double check chat. Yeah, and if you guys have other resources out there too, definitely let me know. I want to add those resources onto our resources page that we started working on for reference. But I'm sure there's a lot more out there. I know privacytest.org is a pretty popular one, but there's got to be more out there as well. And then now privacy, security, convenience. I was talking a little bit about the convenience. This is where finding your middle ground, and I think I talk about it on this last slide as well, is typically you are giving up convenience for privacy and security, especially privacy itself. And there's never 100%. My mindset is minimization. So I'm utilizing, like I'm live streaming on YouTube for an example. I have social media. I'm on Discord as well. Like there's so many different things out there. I just try to minimize what I can. And so like another really good honorable mention is the browser testing from EFF. I'll pull that up before I transition over, but this is just where finding the middle ground comes in. How much do you value privacy? How much do you value the security side of it? What kind of things are you willing to give up for that? Like Brexy had mentioned Edge earlier, and there's massive benefits that are within Edge. It has Copilot built in. You could all kinds of different security features where you're sending them your web requests. It's scanning it for malware and doing all of these additional things, much of which is completely free to you. But I prefer not to do that because of the privacy aspect. So that's where you really got to kind of do your due diligence, do some research on it, check out these resources, and then kind of find what works for you. And so like Brave, for an example, is not 100%. I do have issues where I have to disable filters. I have to allow things through my DNS. I have to, customize some of it or disable shields altogether. And so there's that level of inconvenience there as well. Copilot is a future. I don't think Copilot is a future anymore. It's just part of the product. Yeah, like they have Copilot inside of Notepad now. So I don't consider it a future anymore. I think it's just part of the product. But yeah, I mean, there are benefits to it. Like, I'm not going to bash on Edge. Like, it's to each and every single person's or business's outcome. Like, what is your risk tolerance and appetite there? And what works for you? What level of inconvenience are you willing to suffer through in regards to that? And we could go into much more depth on this entire concept and philosophy on the privacy, security, and convenience factors. But definitely put some thought into that. And that was one of the things on this last slide here, is just understand the browsers and the impact that they can have. Especially when you're looking at what you do inside of browsers. You're signing into all of your accounts. You're often saving your passwords, whether it be inside of a browser extension or inside of the browser itself. Some of the browsers even have crypto wallets like Brave does, all kinds of different things. So there's so many things that could go wrong, and just understanding that it is a potential high impact and you should monitor that, review it, and so forth is very important. I hope that more people will go through and review their privacy and security settings within their browsers and start taking some of that into account. Is OpenAI offering to? So I did hear, yeah, I'll bring this topic up here in just a moment, actually, Brexy. Know thyself, that's what I was just talking about, your privacy, security, and convenience, and what you're willing to give up, and what is a good middle ground for you, and then just going through reviewing these settings and so forth. And then here in just a moment, I'm going to go through and I have my other screen up here that's actually on the laptop behind me that I'll pull over here in a moment, because I wanted to do a fresh install of Brave and then show like what are the things that I look for. What do I customize when I set it up? Because I do not like the default interface at all. And I think it's pretty messy. But real quick, I think a really good mention here. Let me go ahead and move myself right there for a moment. Oh, Rhonda just noticed who Josh is. GRC Mafia. So, I mean, Brexy asked, should OpenAI be allowed to buy Chrome? Should Google be allowed to keep Chrome? I mean, I'm not going to get into that whole realm on whether they should or shouldn't. But I do find it interesting on the fact that the last thing that I heard the other day was a judge did rule that Google was a monopoly, and that they do have to do something about it. But of course, there's going to be appeals, and I'm sure it's going to be a very long, drawn out process. I believe Facebook is also in the same boat as well on, issues with the FTC and so forth, or something along those lines. But I would be very surprised. Well, I guess I wouldn't be too surprised if OpenAI bought Chrome. Honestly, I would find it more likely that like a service like Perplexity would buy Chrome, to be honest with you. Perplexity is already working on their own browser as well. Josh, I'm still in self-discovery mode. That's hilarious. Josh is absolutely awesome. I'm pretty sure that Josh has dropped his LinkedIn over there in the Discord server. Definitely drop the connection. And also for everybody else, that's one of the best things. Like maybe once in a while, maybe during our job readiness and group resume review, the last Thursday of every single month, which is tomorrow, we should go through and drop our LinkedIns into our introduction channel on Discord, like just as a reminder for all of the new people and to make sure that we're all connected as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and see how I'm going to do this here. This thing is already chooching. All right. So this is the first time of me even attempting to do this with a secondary device. But what could possibly go wrong? So I have the full screen shared here, and I just wanted to go through and show some of the different settings that I look for. So this is a fresh install of the Brave browser on Linux, but it's going to be identical on Windows as well. One of the key things I don't like off the bat is we have the rewards, the Brave rewards here, which is not something that I really care for at all. You have the option to enable that. It's supposed to be a privacy-focused ads and so forth. Not something that I really look for. So that's one of the things that I disable. But then also, I think one of the different issues that a lot of people have is that I just don't find this to be a very clean experience off the bat. So I'm going to go ahead and just skip that as a default. I just have this on a test account. I'm going to match the system settings and just skip through some of this stuff. Do you want better search results? Join the movement, contribute to Brave Search. I don't even participate in that either. So they do state that by sharing completely anonymous search signals, you can help Brave grow the search index. I'm sure that's a great thing to do, but again, I am of the mindset of privacy. So I'm going to do maybe later. I do not want to send any diagnostic data by choice. And then there's also another setting you'll see as well once we get in here. Now, after you go through these first couple things here, this is where like my first experience with Brave was not positive, because off the bat, like this just looks like a mess to me. Before, when I first started using Brave, which it's been a couple years that I would say that it's been a couple years that I've been using Brave at this point. What I used to do is I used to come down here to the customize section, and I would just customize this dashboard. So I think Edge does the same thing now. Chrome probably does it as well. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then Josh over here is, oh, thanks, Chris. Shout out to me. Jesus. Yeah. And Josh is also mentioning about the whole Apple issue as well. Yeah, because like I think Apple, Facebook, and Google are all like in the hot box or otherwise right now in regards to monopoly and breaking up their services or otherwise. I don't think something like Apple could even be broken up because it's an ecosystem. But you could say the same thing about Google as well. All right, and if you guys have any questions along the way, definitely let me know. I'm just going to keep going through this, and like I said, this is probably going to go over time potentially. Now, customizing the dashboard is what I used to do. You can certainly go through and do this. I typically went through and disabled the background. I would disable the sponsored images. I would even take out the statistics. I don't want my top sites. You know, I would just disable that. Brave News is not something I ever used. You have the option to turn on Brave News, in which case you can add your own RSS feeds or news channels and things like that. But one of my issues with that is that they do mix in sponsored content as well. So not something I'm interested in. And so this is what I used to do. And then there used to be an option in here. Oh yeah, so solid color is what I actually typically did. So I would go through and I would select the solid color of black, and then I would disable the sponsored images. So I just had this plain background, and that's even what I use on my desktop and so forth. I like very minimal personally. Of course, this is all to your own choices and so forth. One of the reasons I don't like the sponsored content on here, like images and so forth, is because of the ads, sponsored, and then also there could be a level of tracking involved with that as well. And even the cards that are over here on the side, I don't even like that. Brave Talk and rewards, not something that I'm interested in, but definitely a bunch of different settings there. Nowadays, I don't even use that at all. So now I'm just going to go ahead and pull open the settings here. And so I'm just going to try to go through this as quick as possible through these options on the left. Typically, the first thing that I'll go through and do is I try to modify this and just make sure this is good. Maybe I'll change the color of the profile avatar, but that's not really that important. I'll go through and import my bookmarks, which I update a minimum of weekly that I back up to my cloud provider. Showing your browser on stream. Yeah, it's literally just a test account. So this is literally running on my laptop. So on a brand new account too. So don't worry, Evan. Don't worry. I did not want to go through and delete Brave and reinstall it just to try to do this. Importing the bookmarks works extremely well. Set it as default. On startup, what I select here is to open up the new tab page. I do not like to continue off where I was, and then new tab page shows, and then I'm going to modify this to home page. So this allows me to go through, and so if I click on customize home page, oh, that's the wrong option. So that allows me to go through in another section to set the home page itself. And so now I can go over to the appearance. The appearance I see makes the biggest difference because you can see all of this mess that's over here, including rewards and so forth. So the group tabs, pins, new tab groups. So I like to show the home button. And so when you do the show home button, then you can select your own custom web address. And just because I'm running on 2 devices, I'm not going to, well, maybe I'll type it in real quick, but I usually just go through and select the search engine. So I'm literally just setting my home page to search.brave.com. And so that makes it way cleaner on boot, I've noticed. Show bookmarks. I like to show my bookmarks all the time, always, personally. And then Brave News, I'm turning off. Brave Leo, I'm turning off. I do not want the Brave Leo button up there. You could see that disappearing up in the top right. Rewards, off. Brave wallet button, off. Show sidebar button, off. So the sidebar button, I do leave off as well. It does have some different options. That's what this is on the right-hand side. So then you can get quick access to Brave Talk and all kinds of different stuff here too. They also have like reading lists and that kind of stuff. I don't use any of that whatsoever. So I disable that. Show autocomplete suggestions. I do use this as well. I use the wide address bar. Always show full URLs. I do not like vertical tabs. So a lot of this stuff is by preference. I do prefer the hover. Inactive tab appearance. Sidebar, never. So I never want that sidebar to show. Now there's another section that's over here. And so I think I did disable it. So show Leo button. I do personally use Leo. So Brave Leo AI is something that I actually do like, which I'll show you those settings for that here in a moment as well. So we're going to get into the security settings here in a moment too. I do leave the content stuff the same, I do believe. Yeah. So I do turn on speed reader. I'm actually really surprised that this is a setting that they don't have enabled by default, just because that makes it way easier to read articles when you load into an article that it recognizes. Now in the shield section here, I personally run aggressive and strict. I block, I do the block fingerprinting, block the third-party cookies, which is a default. And they also have this content filtering too, which I'm going to go into in a moment. I also disable these settings for social media blocking. I do not care to see social media embedded on websites, so I disable those. Now in the content filtering section, this is where Brave is also a benefit in my opinion, is because we can go through and we can add our own custom filters in here if we want to. but they also have a huge list of defaults as well. And so typically what I'll do is I'll just go through and add the majority of these here. So this also, I wish this worked better with Brave Sync though. And even though I go through and set this, like a lot of this stuff does not even hit, because I also have the DNS filter, and we talked about Next DNS a few weeks ago, and you can utilize these exact same filters inside of your Next DNS or your DNS filter blocking as well. But there's a lot of this stuff here that can only be modified in browser. So removing a lot of the ad content and things like that, it's way easier to do it in the browser before it renders than and may not even be possible in a DNS request. And so you could definitely go through, do your research on these different lists here as well. There's a lot of different ones. A lot of these ones in the center here are for other places around the world. So yeah, like they have French in here, Finnish, Germany, Chinese, and so forth. Or you can add your own custom ones as well. And that is another benefit of Brave, in my opinion. And also, what browsers do you guys use? It sounds like Brexy uses Edge. And why do you use it? Are there any particular settings in there that you particularly care for? Now, the security and privacy side, I do use the Mulvad browser as well, which deletes everything on exit. They have their standard protections, and they also have their use secure DNS. So in here for the secure DNS, you can actually select this. And this is another thing that I really like, is that I can go in here and I can set this to Cloudflare, for an example, which we talked about during that DNS video for 1.1.1.1. We could also go through and configure this for Next DNS inside of the browser itself if you do not have that on the entire network, or you can add your own custom DNS as well. I'm just going to leave this as default for now, but they do seem to make this extremely easy in browser. I do not use those built-in security keys either. WebRTC is also another really interesting thing. So if you click learn more here, this is actually a really interesting thing to go through and learn about, is the WebRTC, because one of the big issues here is that it could end up sharing your IP address or otherwise. And there's some privacy related issues with this. But yeah, definitely take a look at that. That's another thing, left up to personal choice. I do not use the Google services, and they also have some of these redirects here as well, like auto redirect, tracking URLs, send do not track. I do find it interesting that a lot of these browsers are now asking to, or they're telling you that, hey, even though you send a do not track, that doesn't mean that they're going to listen to it. And matter of fact, by sending that do not track, they may actually do even more. So privacy window, volunteer. You could volunteer to run your own Tor Snowflake. And so that is a very low risk, web browser extension that you have the choice to do. I personally still do not. You could even use, one of the cool things with Brave as well is that they do have the ability to connect through Tor on here as well. So you could set it up to where you can connect to Tor through without the privacy window, or you could set it up to where it's only privacy window. And I do find that kind of interesting, because once in a while I'll come across a Onion URL, and all I have to do is open up a Tor privacy window and submit that in, and it's just quick and easy. And then there's also these options here for data collection. So this is what I was meaning to mention at the beginning. So it asked if we wanted to send diagnostics and so forth, and it allowed us to disable that, which you can see here on this top one and this bottom one as well. However, it did not give me an option during initial setup to disable the daily usage ping to Brave. So this is something that is enabled by default that I also disable. So this just lets them know how many users are using their service and who knows what else. I have not looked into depth on the exact information that's shared with that. So I just disable it. There's no reason for it, in my opinion. Another thing that I do here is, so that covers our privacy and security section. Now Web3, I think B-Dubs has a really awesome resource for Web3. There's all kinds of stuff that coincides with that. I don't know if Web3 is really the best thing for that, but I literally just disable this. So default wallets, I just do extensions, no fallback. And I do that because I'm not using any browser wallets. And there's a couple other settings in here too. You could go through and manually change some of these wallet networks around as well. Before, what I would do is I would just clear the entire wallet data, but it just resets and makes a new one. So I didn't really find that useful. And so then it asks like what to do when resolving some of the some of the name services for Web3. And you could just go through and disable this if you wanted to. And that's what I personally do, just because I don't want anything to do with that in browser. Now Leo is interesting. So I had talked a little bit about this previously and how I see it as a benefit. They do have some of the defaults in here. So you have access to utilize these different ones. I think you guys could see that pretty well. Oh yeah, you guys can see that. You do have access to use these free AI models, but there are limits, and they do have a premium tier as well. I believe it's $15 a month, and you get access to some of the Claude models, as you see there. I find it to be extremely useful. You can change around some of the different settings for storing the conversation history and all kinds of different stuff. I will show this here in just a moment. I'm going to change the default over to the 3.1. The Llama 3.1 I feel works better than the other options that they have here personally. But you could definitely play with each and every single one of those. And I do leave the button up here in the top right. But already with the appearance settings that I modified, I feel this is way more clean than anything else. And then also, like, if I open up a new tab, it's just going to default out to the search engine page rather than that dashboard that they have with the sponsored image and all of the widgets around it and so forth. So I find this to be a better experience. But regardless, whether you use Brave or you use another service, going through and customizing a lot of this is definitely highly recommended. Another thing that I was going to mention is, at least the last time that I looked at Edge, which I actually go through and delete Edge before I even open it on Windows now. So when I install Windows, I actually use a script that deletes Edge entirely and installs Brave. So, but also, I don't think I was even able to change the home page on Edge to anything I wanted. Now, another short thing to mention before I move on from Leo, and I'll showcase this after I go through the settings about Leo. So you can bring your own model as well. So I can hit add new, and we could enter the information here for different AI models. So one, I had mentioned LM Studio the other day. I believe it might have been, I think it might have been Bentech or Josh or somebody was in chat who was asking about the LM Studio, and it's an application you could install very easily. You could download something like Llama 3 and run your own local AI, and you could input all of that information in here as well. So then you could run your own local LM and also have it connected through your browser, which I find pretty useful. Or you can also, if you don't want to run your local large language model, or if you just want to use a different service, you could also just go through and get a open AI API key, or Grok, or Claude, or whatever other AI service out there, and input their information in here. I think it may be limited to, you have to use the same OpenAI chat protocol, which most of them do use. but I'm not too familiar with that whatsoever. They do also have sync if you wanted to sync this with your other devices to share bookmarks and some of the settings and so forth. I don't really use the Brave Sync just because I've noticed that not 100% of it is saved. So originally when I started using Sync maybe a year ago, I noticed that some of the different security settings were being changed. So I would have it set as aggressive and it would be changed to standard for absolutely no reason with no updates enabled or otherwise. Also, not all of the settings and so forth are clearly identified whether they're synced or not. And so I just stopped using it altogether and I just set it up on each device. Thanks for hopping in, Cam. And then also we have the search engines. Of course, the default for this one is going to be Brave, but I do disable the improved search suggestions, and these other options were already disabled from earlier. You can change this around. You can also add additional ones as well. So like start page, Estonia is another really good one that I would say is kind of popular. And so you can modify that. You can also access a lot of these in the browser bar up at the top as well. The extensions, I personally disable the login for Chrome. Now, this is also a love-hate relationship. I disable the web torrent because I don't handle any of that. And I also don't cast from the browser at all. Now, the wide vine, as they call it, so for DRM content, is definitely an interesting thing. So, especially if you like use Udemy or a lot of the different courses, Vimeo or otherwise for the video hosting, a lot of those different services or course content and things like that are going to require the DRM. We had talked about that a couple of weeks ago with the CISSP study group into more depth. But unfortunately, I almost always have to enable that. I prefer not to, but I do still have to do that so I can access a lot of this material out. Yes, so that is correct, Josh. So like Josh mentions, so you can get their interface, Leo, and point it to my own AI. Yes, that is correct. And that is one of the big benefits that I see with Brave is the built-in AI function. And I'll showcase that a little bit more in a moment as well. But yeah, so I disable all of this. I do typically have to enable DRM just so that way I can go through and access a lot of this content. And then the only browser extension I use is my password manager itself. I try not to install anything else if I possibly can prevent it. And even the password manager, I typically use either Bitwarden or Proton Pass, and both of those provide desktop applications, so I don't even technically have to have the browser extension. Now, also another honorable mention here after extensions is the autofill in passwords. I disable this altogether, so I disable it in private windows if it allows me to. So I turn it off for private windows. I also open up this password manager and go over to the settings over here, and I disable this altogether. So I don't want to sign in automatically, and I do not want it to ask to save passwords or passkeys. I do not want to use the built-in password manager. The same thing goes for the payment methods. I do not want any of that. I do not want to save my credit card information inside of my browser. Same thing with addresses. I don't even save my address information or contact info within the browser for autofill. I leave all of that for my password manager, which is specially designed to store and manage that information. Now for the languages, this is really going to be a lot more to personal preference. I do personally use, I do believe I just leave on the spell check for the browser itself. You could add the other languages, modify this. Use Brave Translate. I do enable this as well, but it's not something that I typically use at all. Downloads. So another pet peeve of mine is asking where to save the file before downloading. I download so many files. I don't do that. I just have it auto download to my downloads folder. And then over here in the system settings here, so continue running apps when Brave is closed. I disable that. If I shut down the browser, I do not want it running in the background. Using the graphics acceleration when possible is awesome. I also like to be notified if I have multiple tabs up and I go to close it. So I do have that enabled as well. And then it depends. Most of the time I do use the memory saver in balanced mode. And so I do not like a bunch of browser tabs, but there are times when I'm running, you know, like maybe 3 or 4 different windows with 6 or 7 different tabs. And, you know, I have one project over here, I have another project over here, and I'm just saving it for later kind of thing. Especially in those cases, the memory saver is beneficial. I believe this was actually something that was ripped off from Edge, because I think Edge does a really good job at the memory saver, but I do utilize that as well. And I think that pretty much covers all of this. So, of course, especially on Windows, you want to go through, and on Windows, you can go through and do the updates directly through the browser here, but not on Linux. So on Linux, you got to do it a little bit more manually. And I think that pretty much covers that. So then let me see here. So like, I'm just going to go ahead and look up, you know, Google court case. So I'm just doing a search for Google's court case here. This was the other day. We were kind of talking about this a little bit. And so you could see here how Brave automatically went into the speed reader mode, which is what I love. I really like the speed reader mode. And they have the Leo AI built in here. Now, there's a couple really cool features here. So I could just go through and summarize this page. I understand. And then it's going to go through, and this is utilizing their model. But I can also ask follow-up questions. You know, what names are mentioned, and all kinds of different stuff. And one of the other cool things with this is you can also change the model here. So if I wanted to use Mixtral instead, then I can go ahead and change over to that one. I can create a new chat if I want to start over. You know, oh, let's suggest questions about this article here. What does the Google Chrome browser unit do exactly? And then it just went through and summarized that for me. I can ask additional questions, but the crazy part with this that I really like is that you can also go through and pull up conversation history, I believe is what it was. Or, oh yeah, so it's this full screen option. And then you could look at the URL here, and you could bookmark Brave Leo AI up here at the top, and you could save this. And so then you have a full screen application for your local AI. If you set up the local LLM, you can attach files. So I can go through and attach different extensions. I could attach different tabs and so forth, and all kinds of different stuff. And so of course you can go through and utilize their provided models that do get sent over the internet, or inside of the settings like I was showcasing, you could set it up for your local LLM, in which case then you could set that as the default and you're good to go. So yeah, this is a feature that I really, really like on Brave browser. So like I can attach this browser tab here, and then I can go through and have a full length conversation. And I can also look at all of the previous chats that I've had as well with Leo AI, and even run it through my own local LLM. So yeah, definitely a lot of different stuff to look at and consider. I believe that covers it all. I went through all of the settings and configuration that I look at when setting up Brave. And so if you guys have any questions, definitely drop that in chat. I'll stick around for a moment, and then, I mean, we're practically right on time too. We're only like 2 minutes over, so that actually works out way better than I thought. I'm going to go ahead and pull this down. And then if you guys need any of these other links, definitely let me know. So I'm going to go through, and after this stream here that I'll end here in a moment, I'll add all of these additional resource links that I dropped in the description along with the chapters shortly after I stop streaming. But if you have any questions or otherwise, definitely drop that. Also, our Discord server is an awesome place to catch us outside of our live streams. And then tomorrow at... So tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central, we have our job readiness and group resume review session. We do have a few resumes lined out, but then also you can go over to our website and submit yours as well. So let me, bam. So you can utilize this contact form in order to submit your redacted resume. Just please make sure that it is redacted. One of the big reasons why is because it is automatically sent through and scanned by VirusTotal. So if you have your phone number or email address or, your name, your, street address for all we know, that could be in there as well. So take that into consideration and try to redact that. I did hear that Brews and Hacks was mentioning that this form was not loading on Firefox. I actually did test this out. So just to provide an example here, is so over here on this other device that I was using, this is probably going to look pretty weird at first, just because I have this. There we go. Oh, okay. Let me change what screen I'm sharing here. So just what I wanted to showcase here is that I do have the default Firefox open here as well. And I was looking at that. And at least on Firefox on Linux, I don't have an issue with it. The form was still loading for me. So we could see the loading icon there. And then it loads in on Firefox on Linux. So just to show that as an example, doing some incident response on that aspect. Testing it out, due diligence. But yeah, so if you guys have any questions, I'll catch you guys inside of Discord. I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Let's see, Josh did send something. I started using Brave more this past month. It's now my default as well. This has been a very helpful session. Yeah, thanks, Josh, and I hope it just gets people to think more about it. Even if you're not using Brave, the biggest thing that I'm trying to position here is to consider your browser settings and how much of an impact the browser has on your day-to-day life and in business especially. Check out the settings, review it on a regular basis, and just kind of figure out what niche works best for you on, what you value the most on privacy, security, and convenience. Every single one of the browsers certainly work, and each and every single one has security and privacy settings. You just have to go in through and check them out. So Brave, it personally works the best for me, but that's just my own opinion. So to each their own. But yeah, thank you guys for hopping in and joining me today. If you guys have any questions, hop into the Discord server. I'll catch you guys there outside of the streams. GRC Mafia, catch you guys in Discord and see you guys tomorrow.